Ohio voters, if they watched, saw the two men who want to be governor debate issues on the same stage this past week. They disagreed on many issues, including abortion and legal marijuana. And neither candidate shied away from tough criticism of their opponent.
Mike DeWine and I have very different views about why you should vote for us. He believes that after 42 years in politics, he's entitled to be governor because it's just the next step on the ladder. I want to earn your vote by working hard for Ohio's hardworking middle class.
I run for governor because I want to take us to the next level. We've come a long, long way since Richard Cordray and Ted Strickland were in office, and the way has been upward. We need to take us the next step.
Julie Carr Smythe, we feared this debate would be boring. I don't know why we would think that, but it wasn't. It was feisty. It was informative. What did you see?
Yeah, I was there. I thought it was very lively. It looked to me like a couple candidates who were well prepared. They were backgrounded on their issues quite well, and they had a lot at stake, each one of them. I mean, Cordray came out first with his statement and went right on the attack, explaining why he thought that DeWine had been in office too long and was trying to paint this picture that he didn't deserve to just be monkey move up to the next level. DeWine came back with a couple of choice one-liners, and both of them called each other a failure. Mike DeWine even said Cordray has been a failure at every job he's ever had, and Cordray turned around and said, newsflash, you were supposed to be the opioid czar, and you've done a poor job at that.
Daryl, Richard Cordray's had all these ads, Mr. Nice Guy carrying groceries for elderly women and things like that. He went right on the attack in the first 3 seconds of his opening statement, which is unusual to go after it that fast. That was a strategy to be the aggressor, I take it.
Well, I think so, and I think if you looked at least in my judgment, I think it threw Mike DeWine off balance a little bit. I think he was perhaps taken aback. But both candidates quickly went. I don't want to say it's absurd, but sort of there's a real stretch to accuse Richard Cordray for being part of the recession that caused Ohio to lose jobs. For Rich Cordray to accuse Mike DeWine of basically opioid deaths in Ohio, that seems a little extreme. Not saying maybe there's something there more he could have done. That's legitimate, but it just seemed to be over the top. So they not only were butting heads to begin with, I think they went a little over the top.
Bob, Mike DeWine held his own.
Yeah.
He gave as good as he got.
I thought he was fairly aggressive. Like you, I figured these two candidates with these two personalities, what kind of debate would we have? And it was a lot more lively, like you said, than I ever thought it would. I do think, though, that Cordray made a strategic error, and that's when he went down the road to endorse Issue 1. And we can talk about that further when we talk about the whole opioid crisis.
This is the ballot amendment that would lessen penalties for low-level drug offenses.
I think that's going to be a problem for him, and that's really the only thing I saw from his side that I thought will be problematic for him in the future.
Yeah, so both candidates were throwing their haymaker punches, but I think the difference is that Cordray most often did his with humor. About the captain on the Titanic, and we had a drug czar. His name was DeWine. And the next time you see him, tell me. DeWine's attacks, I think, came off as mean-spirited. One thing I learned a long time ago. I've been either run or been heavily involved in 12 different Senate campaigns in the state. One thing I learned a long time ago is the importance of humor. You can get away with a lot if you can make people laugh rather than cringe, because humor takes the edge off what you're saying. And I think that punch lines are always more effective than punches. And I think
good humor is effective, Dale.
And
I can't say Cordray used good humor. He tried to do humor.
Well, let me just say, though, that I think the bigger problem for DeWine is that we have an election year, the midterms, which is always a change election. It is hard to be the credible agent of change when you've been in one office or the other for 42 years and you're in your 70s. And I say that as somebody who's getting some long in the tooth.
Brown, and I'm sure it would affect his
Sherrod
race.
is not in his 70s, Bob, and he hasn't.
He's in his 60s, and he's held office since 1972. But that's not a problem for him, correct?
But you know, the interesting thing, which both these candidates did point out and eventually concede, is they've both been in the Attorney General's office. One took it from the other. You know, DeWine took over that office and said that he felt Cordray had left it in a mess. They got really into some nitty-gritty details in terms of how BCI is being operated and things. I was surprised Cordray didn't bring up the whole, you know, expired bulletproof vest issue. But you know, in the end, I think that you saw DeWine say back to Cordray, listen, we've both been in government a long time. This is just how it is. And there was kind of a conciliatory tone at the end and just, hey, voters, here's why we want you.
Looking at some of the issues, first, Daryl, on the rape kits. Mike DeWine's ads are really stressing how he cleared the backlog of the rape kits over his tenure as Attorney General. He mentioned it quite a bit during this debate. Almost in the second half of the debate, every answer included something about the rape kits. What's the strategy there? And is it a point where he can, what's he going for there?
Well, I think it's a legitimate accomplishment, first of all. I mean, to test untested rape kits in various law enforcement agencies around the state to see if they, you know, they match in the DNA database. I think you got to give Mike DeWine a lot of credit for that, regardless of what party or which candidate you're for. The nub comes in, you know, did Rich Cordray just sit on it and do nothing, as Mr. DeWine alleges, or did Rich Cordray sort of start down that trail? He was only Attorney General 2 years, remember, and then Mike DeWine sort of took over and finished it up. And it did take Mr. DeWine 7 years to complete the statewide testing. Cordray says, you know, he blames me for not doing it in 2 years. Well, it took him 7. Again, I don't know if that's fair back the other way. So again, I think DeWine deserves credit, but does Cordray deserve the condemnation that DeWine is heaping on him? That's questionable, I think.
Right, and I think what I noticed, I guess perhaps I'm watching it as a female viewer, but it came up each time that Rich Cordray mentioned Betty Sutton's name. I feel as if, you know, DeWine and his ticket feel a little vulnerable in this issue around women and female voters, and that, you know, they want to point out, hey, we've done our part, it's advocacy, it's a Me Too movement year, and, you know, the fact that they did that is important for female voters.
May I offer something else, not speaking about the rape kits now, but Julie pointed out, and she's right, this has been called the year of the woman, or the suburban woman in particular. I think that there's a real problem for DeWine in that he comes from a very extremist posture on abortion. Outside of the fact that he's talked about signing a heartbeat bill, which is probably unconstitutional because it would ban abortion after 6 weeks before a lot of women even know they're pregnant. The other thing that's even more important than that, he says he would ban abortion with no exceptions, even for rape or incest. Now, let's be clear as to what that means. Under a Governor DeWine, a 12-year-old Ohio girl raped by her uncle would be forced to carry that fetus to term. That simply is not where most Ohioans are.
Well, Mike DeWine did say in this debate he would sign the heartbeat bill, did not rebut Rich Cordray's assertion about the rape and incest exemption. Does that come back to hurt him in November?
No, I mean, that's what his position has always been. He has never changed it. You know, the abortion issue is an issue where, you know, you have some people that are on one side that have those beliefs. There you have others that are on the Cordray side that want to have abortion past 20 weeks, don't know how late he would allow abortion, maybe up to 9 months, I'm not sure. I don't think he's really ever said. So, you know, there are positions that people just have, and you go into these kind of races knowing that. Abortion is an issue for certain individuals, but it's always been individuals, or usually individuals, that are already so hardcore on that issue, one way or the other, that isn't going to affect who they vote for.
Another issue, Dale, is Richard Cordray said he would vote to legalize recreational marijuana. He doesn't want it to be enacted by the legislature. He wants us to go to the ballot. Mike DeWine said he would veto it. Yeah. But that's a far left position that Richard Cordray took there, you could argue.
Well, yeah, I don't know how far left it is now. I think maybe a number of years ago it was. Now I think that marijuana, recreational or medical, I mean, Ohio is already, you look at the polls, it's something like 80% in favor of medical. Recreational is less, but it's still a majority.
But it's close to 50-50.
But when you combine that, supporting legalizing marijuana with the supportive issue 1, it really puts Cordray at a very pro-drug position that is going to be tough for him to have to navigate through this year.
Well, I think it's absurd to suggest, as Mike DeWine always does, that Rich Cordray wants to leave drug pushers on the street. That's absurd.
But he wants to reduce the
no one is
penalties.
going to believe that.
You wanna-
no,
he
not
wants to
for drug
reduce the
pushers,
penalty.
Bob. Not for drug pushers.
Dealers are part of that.
No, it's
All right.
not, Bob.